I never believed in love at first sight. Not really. I thought it was something people made up in movies, a convenient plot device to explain why two strangers would throw their lives into chaos for each other. But that was before I met Bella, before I walked through that door and felt my entire world tilt on its axis. My name is Michelle, and I'm 22 years old. 2 years ago, I was just another college student drowning in economics textbooks and surviving on cheap coffee. My life was predictable, safe, exactly what I'd always planned it to be. I had my classes, my part-time job at the campus bookstore, and a clear vision of my future. Graduate, get a good job, settle down with a nice guy, live the life everyone expected of me. I never questioned any of it. Why would I? I was a straight girl following a straight path. Simple, uncomplicated, until it wasn't. It started on a Tuesday afternoon in late September. The leaves were just beginning to turn gold, and there was that crisp feeling in the air that promised autumn was coming. I was stressed about our upcoming macroeconomics exam, the kind of stress that makes your stomach tight and your coffee taste like anxiety. My classmate, Daniel, must have noticed me staring blankly at the same page of my textbook for 20 minutes straight. "Hey, Michelle," he said, slinging his backpack over his shoulder. "Want to come study at my place tonight? I've got all the notes from Professor Chen's lectures, and my mom makes incredible coffee. Like, actually good coffee, not the cafeteria sludge." I looked up at him, grateful for the lifeline. Seriously? That would be amazing. I'm completely lost on monetary policy. Yeah, no problem. My place is just off campus. Come by around 7? I didn't think much of it. Just another study session. Just another evening of cramming formulas and theories into my exhausted brain. I had no idea I was walking toward the moment that would split my life into before and after. When I arrived at Daniel's apartment building that evening, I was impressed. It was one of those nice brownstones in the better part of town, the kind of place that suggested money without screaming it. I climbed the stairs to the third floor, textbooks weighing down my backpack, and knocked on the door. Daniel opened it with a grin. "Perfect timing. Come on in." I stepped inside, and my first thought was how warm and inviting the space felt. Soft lighting, comfortable furniture, actual artwork on the walls instead of the typical college posters. And then I heard her voice. "Daniel, is that your study partner?" She walked into the entryway, and I swear to God, time stopped. Bella was slim and graceful, with long dark hair that cascaded over her shoulders in soft waves. She wore a simple cream sweater and jeans, nothing fancy, but somehow she looked effortlessly elegant. But it was her eyes that hit me first, warm and bright with this magnetic energy, like she could see right through all my carefully constructed walls and knew secrets about me I didn't even know myself. Her smile was genuine, reaching all the way to those eyes, and when she extended her hand to me, I felt my stomach do a complete flip. "Hi, I'm Bella, Daniel's mom. You must be Michelle." I took her hand, and the brief contact sent electricity up my arm. "Yes, hi, nice to meet you," I managed, hoping my voice sounded normal and not like I'd just been punched in the chest. God, she's stunning, I thought, and immediately felt my cheeks burning. "What the hell, Michelle? Stop it. You're a straight girl. You're here to study. This is your friend's mom. Get it together." But I couldn't stop staring. There was something about the way she moved, the confidence in her posture, the warmth radiating from her presence that pulled at me like gravity. "I made some tea," Bella said, gesturing toward the kitchen. "And there's cookies if you two get hungry. Let me know if you need anything, okay?" "Thanks, Mom," Daniel said, already heading toward his room. "Come on, Michelle. Let's set up in here." I followed him, but my mind was still in the entryway, replaying the sound of Bella's voice, the way her hand felt in mine, the sparkle in her eyes. I sat down at Daniel's desk, pulled out my textbooks, and tried desperately to focus on supply and demand curves. It was useless. Every few minutes, Bella would appear in the doorway, asking if we needed anything. More tea, snacks, Did we want her to explain anything? She mentioned she'd studied some economics in business school. Each time she spoke, my concentration shattered into a million pieces. Her voice was smooth and confident, with this underlying warmth that made me want to keep listening forever. "You okay?" Daniel asked, looking at me strangely. "You seem distracted." "Yeah, sorry," I said quickly, forcing my eyes back to my notes. "Just tired. Long day." But it wasn't tiredness. It was something else entirely. Something I didn't want to name or acknowledge. Something that terrified me. About an hour into our study session, Bella came in with fresh cups of tea and sat down on the edge of Daniel's bed. "So, Michelle, what are you studying? Besides economics, I mean." I looked up, grateful for the break from formulas I wasn't absorbing anyway. "Oh, just economics. It's my major." "Really? What drew you to it?" And just like that, we started talking. Really talking. She asked thoughtful questions about why I'd chosen my field, what I hoped to do after graduation, what interested me beyond academics. I found myself opening up in a way I rarely did with people I'd just met, telling her about my love for understanding how societies function, how economies shape human behavior, how everything connects in these invisible but powerful ways. "That's fascinating," she said, and I could tell she meant it. "I run my own company, actually. Marketing and brand consulting. It's all about understanding people. What drives them, what they value. Economics and psychology are so intertwined." "Wait, you run your own company?" I asked, genuinely impressed. She smiled, and there was something almost shy about it. "Yeah, for about 10 years now. Started it from scratch after." She paused, glancing at Daniel, who was absorbed in his textbook. "After my divorce. Single mom trying to make it work." "That's incredible," I said, and meant it. "What's it like, building something from nothing?" Her eyes lit up, and for the next 30 minutes, we talked about everything: business, psychology, the books we loved, old movies, even cooking. She mentioned her favorite film was Casablanca, and I nearly jumped out of my seat because it was mine too. We both loved psychological thrillers, both enjoyed simple cooking rather than fancy recipes, both found comfort in understanding how things worked beneath the surface. Daniel had long since tuned us out, lost in his notes. Bella and I were in our own world, and I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt so connected to someone so quickly. Every time she laughed, my heart raced. Every time she looked at me, really looked at me, I felt like she was seeing something I kept hidden from everyone else. By the time Daniel excused himself to go to bed around 11, "I'm wiped, Michelle. You can stay and keep studying if you want." Bella and I had moved to the kitchen couch, still talking like the world outside didn't exist. "More tea?" she asked, standing up. "Sure," I said, even though I'd already had 3 cups and my heart was pounding for reasons that had nothing to do with caffeine. She came back with steaming mugs and sat down closer this time. Close enough that I could smell her perfume, something subtle and floral that made my head swim. We talked about her journey as a single mother, how her husband had left when Daniel was 5, how she'd built her business while raising her son alone, how lonely it could be even when you were successful. "People see the company, the nice apartment, and they think I have it all figured out," she said softly, staring into her tea. "But some nights, it's just me in the silence, wondering if this is all there is." Without thinking, I reached out and touched her hand. "You're amazing. What you've built, who you've become, raising Daniel on your own, that takes so much strength." She looked at my hand on hers, then up at me, and something passed between us. Something electric and undeniable. My breath caught in my throat. "Thank you," she whispered. "That means more than you know." I should have pulled my hand away, should have made an excuse and left, should have listened to the voice in my head screaming that this was dangerous territory. But I didn't. I sat there, my hand on hers, my heart hammering against my ribs, and let myself feel what I was feeling. When I finally left around 1 in the morning, my mind was reeling. I walked home through the empty streets, replaying every moment, every word, every look, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, the sound of her laugh, the warmth of her hand under mine. This is wrong, I told myself, lying in bed and staring at the ceiling. She's older. She's Daniel's mom. And you're not even into women. You've never been into women. This is just admiration, respect, that's all. But I knew I was lying to myself, because I couldn't stop thinking about her lips, wondering what they'd feel like against mine. Couldn't stop replaying the way my stomach flipped when she looked at me. Couldn't ignore the fact that my chest tightened every time our hands accidentally brushed. I was falling, and it terrified me. Over the next few weeks, I found every excuse to go back. Suddenly, I needed help with economics concepts Daniel and I could study together. I volunteered to help Bella with a marketing project that needed a student perspective. I showed up for coffee, for walks in the park, for any reason I could manufacture to be near her, and Bella seemed just as eager to see me. She'd text me articles she thought I'd find interesting. She'd invite me to lunch, saying she was in my area anyway. We'd end up talking for hours, about everything and nothing, our conversations flowing like we'd known each other for years instead of weeks. My feelings grew stronger every day, this wildfire inside me that I couldn't control. I'd lie awake at night, replaying her smile, the sound of her voice, hating myself for wanting something I couldn't have, something that went against everything I thought I knew about myself. What am I doing? I'd whisper into the dark, my heart pounding with a mix of desire and shame. This can't happen. This shouldn't happen. My principals screamed at me to stop. The age difference, the fact that she was my friend's mother, the betrayal Daniel would feel if he knew what I was thinking. And beyond all that, the terrifying realization that I was attracted to a woman, that everything I thought I knew about my sexuality was crumbling. But the pull was stronger than any principle, any fear, any logic. Every time I saw her, it got worse. My palms would sweat, my thoughts would scatter. I'd catch myself staring at her lips when she talked, imagining what they'd taste like, then forcing my eyes away in shame. I was torn between wanting to run away and never look back, and wanting to run toward her and never let go. One evening in late October, Bella offered to drive me home after we'd spent the afternoon at a coffee shop, talking about her company's latest campaign and my career aspirations. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and the car ride was quiet, thick with something unspoken. My pulse raced. My hands trembled in my lap. Every fiber of my being screamed that this was a moment of choice, that if I didn't act now, I might never find the courage again. Do something, my heart urged, or you'll lose this. You'll spend the rest of your life wondering what if. Bella parked outside my apartment building and turned to me with a soft smile. Same time next week? I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My body moved before my mind could stop it. Bella, now or never. I leaned in, closing the distance between us, my heart exploding in my chest. My lips met hers, soft and warm, tasting of the strawberry lip gloss she always wore and the mint tea we'd shared earlier. For one terrifying second, she froze, and then she kissed me back. The world stopped existing. Everything, every doubt, every fear, every carefully constructed wall I'd built around my identity crumbled in that single, devastating moment. Bella's lips moved against mine, tentative at first, then with growing certainty, and I felt like I was drowning and being saved at the same time. My entire body lit up. Every nerve ending sparked to life. Her hand came up to cup my cheek, gentle and sure, and I melted into her touch like I'd been waiting my whole life for this exact moment. The kiss deepened, her breath mixing with mine, and I tasted the sweetness of her lip gloss, felt the warmth of her mouth, and nothing had ever felt more right or more terrifying. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were wide, searching mine with an expression I couldn't quite read. Fear? Surprise? Desire? Maybe all three. My stomach dropped. Oh God, what have I done? Michelle, she whispered, my name sounding like a question and an answer all at once. I'm sorry, I blurted out, my voice shaking. I shouldn't have, I don't know what I was thinking. But before I could finish stammering through my panic, she leaned in again, cutting off my words with another kiss. This one was different, deeper, more intentional, full of something that felt like permission and promise. Her lips pressed harder against mine, her fingers threading through my hair, and I lost myself completely. It was electric, dizzying, like standing at the edge of a cliff and choosing to jump, knowing you might fall but not caring because the flight was worth it. When we broke apart this time, we were both breathless. Bella's hand lingered on my face, her thumb tracing my cheekbone with such tenderness that tears pricked my eyes. There's something here, she said softly, her voice trembling. Between us. I feel it. Tell me you feel it too. I do, I whispered, barely able to form words. I've felt it since the first moment I saw you. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, they were bright with unshed tears. I have to go somewhere, she said, though everything in her expression suggested she wanted to stay. But we'll see each other tomorrow. We need to talk about this. Really talk. I nodded, not trusting my voice. She squeezed my hand once, then let go, and I stumbled out of the car on shaking legs, my mind a chaotic storm of emotions I couldn't begin to sort through. I watched her drive away, then stood on the sidewalk for what felt like hours, touching my lips with trembling fingers, replaying every second of what had just happened. She kissed me back. She feels it too. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I felt her lips on mine, tasted the sweetness of her kiss, heard her saying, "There's something here," like it was a confession and a revelation. My thoughts ricocheted between pure euphoria and absolute terror. What does this mean? What am I? Who am I? I'd spent 22 years believing I knew exactly who I was. Straight. Traditional. Following the path that had been laid out for me since childhood. And now, in the space of a single kiss, everything I thought I knew about myself had been turned inside out. But underneath the fear was something else. Something that felt like truth. Like I'd been living in black and white my entire life and suddenly someone had turned on the color. This thing with Bella, it wasn't wrong. It didn't feel wrong. It felt more right than anything I'd ever experienced. Morning came eventually, though it felt like the night lasted a year. I dragged myself to class, chugging coffee to stay awake. My body present, but my mind still in that car with Bella, trapped in that perfect, terrifying moment. I couldn't focus on my professor's lecture about fiscal policy. The words washed over me like meaningless noise. All I could think about was what Bella had said. We'll see each other tomorrow. When was tomorrow? Today? Tonight? How was I supposed to just sit here and pretend the world hadn't fundamentally shifted on its axis? After my last class, I walked out of the building and froze. Bella was there, leaning against her car in the parking lot, wearing sunglasses and a nervous smile. My heart nearly stopped. She pushed off from the car and walked toward me. Hi. Hi, I breathed, suddenly unable to remember how human conversation worked. I told Daniel I wanted to take you to see this new art gallery downtown, she said, her voice low enough that only I could hear. He thinks I'm being nice to his study partner. The lie should have made me feel guilty. Instead, it sent a thrill through me, the secrecy, the shared deception, the fact that this was just between us. And are we going to an art gallery? I asked. She smiled, and it was almost shy. Actually, I thought we could go somewhere quiet, where we can talk. Really talk. Is that okay? Yes, I said immediately. That's more than okay. We ended up at a small restaurant on the outskirts of town, the kind of place tucked away on a quiet street where nobody from campus would think to look. We sat across from each other in a corner booth, and for a few minutes, neither of us spoke. The weight of what had happened hung between us, heavy and electric. I didn't sleep last night, Bella finally said, wrapping her hands around her coffee cup. I kept replaying everything, trying to understand what's happening. Me too, I admitted. I've never felt anything like this before. She looked up at me, and I could see the vulnerability in her eyes. Michelle, I need you to understand something. I've never, with a woman, I mean. This is new for me. Terrifying, actually. And you're so young, and you're Daniel's friend, and there are 1,000 reasons why this is complicated. I know, I said softly. Trust me. I've thought of every single reason why this shouldn't happen. But Bella, I reached across the table and took her hand. When I'm with you, none of those reasons matter. All I know is that I've never connected with anyone the way I connect with you. I've never felt this alive. Her fingers tightened around mine. Tell me about yourself. I want to know everything. Where you grew up, what scared you as a child, what you dream about at 3 in the morning. I want to know who you really are, not just the polite college student who came to study with my son. So I told her everything. I told her about growing up in a small town where everyone knew everyone else's business, where being different meant being wrong. I told her about my parents' divorce when I was 12, how I'd learned to be the peacemaker, the good girl who never caused trouble. I told her about my fear of disappointing people, of not living up to expectations, of being anything other than what was expected of me. I've spent my whole life being what other people wanted, I said, surprised by the emotion in my voice. The perfect daughter, the good student, the girl with the plan, and then I met you, and for the first time, I felt like I could just be, like you saw me, the real me, and that was enough. Bella's eyes were bright with tears. I see you, she whispered, and you're extraordinary. Then she told me her story. About marrying young because it was what you did, what was expected. About building a life that looked perfect from the outside but felt hollow inside. About her husband leaving, telling her she was too ambitious, too focused on work, too much of everything and not enough of what he needed. I built my company because I needed to prove I could do it alone, she said. That I didn't need anyone. But the truth is, I've been lonely for so long. I forgot what it felt like to have someone really listen, really care about what I think and feel. Until you, quote, we talked for hours, the restaurant emptying around us as the afternoon turned to evening. Every story she shared drew me deeper. This wasn't just physical attraction, though God knows I felt that too. Every time I looked at her, this was something more profound. She understood me in ways I hadn't known I needed to be understood. By the time the waiter politely suggested we might want to order something besides coffee, the sun had set, and I was completely, irrevocably in love with her. The realization hit me like a wave, and I must have looked shocked because Bella squeezed my hand. What is it? I love you, I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. I know that's crazy. I know we barely know each other. But I love you, Bella. And it terrifies me, but I can't pretend I don't feel it. She stared at me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine. Then she stood up, pulled me to my feet, and kissed me right there in the restaurant. Soft and sweet and full of promise. Let's get out of here, she whispered against my lips. Where are we going? Does it matter? It didn't. We could have been going anywhere, and I would have followed her. We ended up at a small hotel on the edge of town. Not because we were ready for anything more, we both knew we weren't, but because we needed somewhere private. Somewhere we could be together without the world intruding. Bella booked the room while I waited in the car, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. When she came back and we walked inside, I expected things to feel awkward or rushed. Instead, it felt natural. Right. I saw the bathroom has a bathtub, Bella said, a nervous smile playing on her lips. Want to just relax? Talk more? I nodded, grateful that she understood this wasn't about rushing into anything physical. This was about intimacy of a different kind, the kind that comes from being vulnerable, from letting someone see you completely. We filled the tub with hot water and bubbles, and when we sank into it together, fully clothed in our underwear, it was the most intimate moment of my life. Bella's arms wrapped around me from behind, her chin resting on my shoulder. And we just existed there together, talking about everything and nothing. "What are you afraid of?" she asked softly. "Losing this," I admitted. "Losing you. Hurting Daniel. Discovering that this isn't real, that I imagined how perfect it feels." "It's real," she murmured, pressing a kiss to my shoulder. "I'm afraid of the same things. But Michelle, I've spent 10 years being afraid, being safe, being alone. I don't want to be afraid anymore." We stayed in that bathtub until the water went cold, talking, kissing softly, holding each other like we were the only two people in the world. Eventually, we moved to the bed, still just talking, still just holding each other. I fell asleep with her arms around me, feeling safer and more loved than I'd ever felt in my life. When morning came, reality crashed back in. We had to leave, had to return to our separate lives, to the secret we were now keeping. "What do we do now?" I asked as we drove back toward campus. Bella's jaw tightened. "We figure it out, together. But Michelle, we have to be careful. Daniel can't know. Not yet. Not until we understand what this is, where it's going." I nodded, even though the secrecy felt like a weight on my chest. But I understood. This was too new, too fragile, too important to risk before we were ready. Over the next month, we became masters of deception. I'd text Daniel about studying, then end up at Bella's place after he left for his evening classes. We'd steal hours together, quiet dinners, long drives, nights curled up on her couch, talking until sunrise. The secrecy heightened everything, made every stolen kiss feel more precious, every whispered "I love you" more meaningful. But the guilt was always there, gnawing at me. Every time I saw Daniel at class, smiling and oblivious, my stomach twisted. I was lying to my friend. Bella was lying to her son. How long could we keep this up? What would happen when the truth came out? Because it would come out. Secrets like this always did. It happened on a Saturday afternoon in late November. I'd come over to Bella's apartment because Daniel had mentioned he was going to a study group. We thought we had hours. We thought we were safe. Bella and I were in the kitchen, making lunch together, laughing about something ridiculous, and I reached out to take her hand without thinking. It was such a natural gesture now, this casual intimacy between us. She laced her fingers through mine and pulled me closer, kissing me softly. We didn't hear the door open, didn't hear footsteps in the hallway. "Mom, I forgot my dare." Daniel's voice cut off abruptly. We sprang apart, but it was too late. He stood frozen in the doorway, his face cycling through confusion, shock, and then something that looked like betrayal. "Daniel," Bella breathed, her voice cracking. His face went white, then red. "What the fuck?" His voice was quiet, which was somehow worse than if he'd yelled. "Michelle, my mom, are you serious?" "Daniel, let me explain." I started, but he cut me off. "Explain what? That you've been lying to me? That you've been—" He couldn't even finish the sentence. He looked at his mother, and I saw tears in his eyes. "How could you? Sweetheart, please." Bella reached for him, but he stepped back, like her touch would burn. "You're disgusting," he said, the word hitting me like a physical blow. "Both of you. This is—" He shook his head, grabbed his backpack from the hallway, and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Bella broke down immediately, collapsing against the counter with her head in her hands, sobbing like her heart was shattering. I stood there frozen, my chest so tight I couldn't breathe, Daniel's words echoing in my head. "Disgusting. This is my fault," I choked out, tears streaming down my face. "I did this. I ruined everything." Bella looked up at me, her face streaked with tears. No, Michelle. This isn't your fault. We both—" Her voice broke. He's my son. Oh God, what have I done? I held her while she cried, even though I wanted to fall apart too. Even though I felt like the worst person alive. We'd hurt someone we both cared about, and there was no taking it back. Daniel didn't come home that night, or the next night. Bella called him repeatedly, but he wouldn't answer. She left messages, sent texts, all met with silence. I tried reaching out too, but he blocked me immediately. He hates me, Bella whispered one night, curled up on her couch with red, swollen eyes. My own son hates me. He doesn't hate you, I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it. He's hurt. He's angry. But he loves you. He'll come around. What if he doesn't? She looked at me with such pain in her eyes that it broke something inside me. What if I've lost him? The guilt was suffocating. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Daniel's face when he found us, thinking about how I'd betrayed his trust, invaded his family, destroyed his relationship with his mother. Maybe everyone was right to think this was wrong. Maybe we were selfish and terrible and deserved every bit of pain we were feeling. But then I'd see Bella, and I couldn't regret loving her. Even in the midst of all this pain, I couldn't regret it. For a month, Daniel refused to speak to either of us. Bella was a wreck, barely eating, throwing herself into work to distract herself from the aching absence of her son. I felt like I was watching her break apart, piece by piece, and there was nothing I could do to fix it. Maybe we should end this, I said one night, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. Maybe if we stop seeing each other, he'll forgive you. Bella looked at me with such fierce intensity that I nearly stepped back. Is that what you want? No, I whispered. But I can't watch you lose your son because of me. She pulled me into her arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. You didn't make me fall in love with you, Michelle. This was my choice. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it hurts. But I won't give you up. Not unless you want me to. I don't want that, I admitted, my voice breaking. I love you. Even though everything is a mess, I love you. Then we hold on, she said firmly. We hold on to each other, and we give Daniel time. And we trust that love is stronger than fear. Slowly, painfully, things began to change. Daniel finally agreed to meet Bella for coffee. They talked, or rather, he yelled and she listened. She told him everything, about how lonely she'd been, about how she'd never expected to fall in love with a woman, with someone his age, with his friend, about how it had just happened and how real it was. I know you're hurt, she said, her voice steady even though I knew she was terrified. I know this is strange and uncomfortable, and not what you wanted for me. But I love her, Daniel, and I need you to at least try to understand. He didn't understand. Not at first. But he started to accept it, bit by bit. He came back home, though things were awkward and tense. He'd be civil to me when we ran into each other, though he wouldn't look me in the eye. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. Weeks turned into months, and gradually, the ice began to thaw. Daniel started asking Bella questions about us, about how we felt, about what we wanted for the future. He even sat down with me once, just the two of us, and said, I still think this is weird, but my mom seems happy, happier than I've seen her in years. So, yeah, I'm trying. It wasn't perfect. It probably would never be perfect, but it was enough. Now, 2 years later, I sit on Bella's couch, our couch, really, since I moved in 6 months ago, and I think about everything that brought us here. All the fear, the doubt, the pain, the joy, the terrifying leap into the unknown. People ask me sometimes how I knew it was worth it, how I knew to take the risk, to follow my heart when everything seemed to be screaming at me to run the other way. The truth is, I didn't know. Not really. But I learned something in those early days. Something I wish I'd understood earlier. Life is far too short to be afraid of love. We spend so much time trying to control our hearts, to fit our emotions into neat little boxes labeled acceptable and appropriate. We create rules for ourselves based on what other people think, what society expects, what makes sense on paper. And in doing so, we forget what it means to feel fully, to love completely, to let ourselves be vulnerable enough to be transformed. Love isn't always convenient. It doesn't always arrive in the package we expected. It doesn't ask permission or wait for the right time. Sometimes it shows up as an older woman, your friend's mother, someone you never imagined would change your entire world. Sometimes it challenges everything you thought you knew about yourself and demands that you choose between safety and truth, between fear and courage, between the life you planned and the life you're meant to live. I chose truth. I chose courage. And yes, it was terrifying. Yes, there were moments when I thought the risk was too great, the cost too high, the pain too intense to bear. But here's what I learned. Fear is only a sign that something real is happening, something powerful enough to change you, to reshape your understanding of who you are and what you're capable of feeling. Every time you choose love over fear, you grow. Every time you act on what your heart whispers instead of what the world demands, you step closer to becoming who you really are. Love taught me courage, and courage taught me that I'm stronger than I ever imagined, that I can survive heartbreak and judgment and uncertainty, that I can rebuild relationships, fight for what matters, and create a life that's true to who I am, not who I was supposed to be. So don't run from love just because it scares you. Don't let the world's rules and expectations keep you from experiencing something extraordinary. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect person, because they don't exist. What exists is the feeling that stirs inside you when you meet someone who sees you, really sees you, and loves what they find. Follow that feeling. Even if the path is uncertain, even if people don't understand, even if it means facing your fears and challenging everything you believed about yourself. Because one day, you'll look back and realize that the risks, the doubts, the late-night questions, the moments of pure terror, they were all part of something beautiful. Something that made you more fully human, more completely yourself. The heart always knows the way, even when the mind hesitates. Trust it. Love boldly. Live honestly. And know that every step taken with sincerity, every choice made with courage, will lead you exactly where you're meant to be. I found my way to Bella. I found my way to myself. And I wouldn't change a single moment of it. Not the pain, not the fear, not the beautiful, terrifying leap into the unknown. Because love is always worth it. Always.